Yeah, I do think so. I think some of those things can happen. Before you'd come into the forum there, Peter, there had been a couple of people who'd come on who had talked about the danger of comparisons, and I acknowledged actually before this person made a comment on this, and if you want to, if you have time, anyone listening, if they want to go back to the beginning of this when we finish up here, they can go back. It's been a long day and night, obviously, for us all. But the person came on and talked about um, really not being, you really can't compare Watford versus, say, because I was talking about Newcastle, I was talking about Sheffield Wednesday, I was talking about Blackburn and clubs like that. And I acknowledged that and Wrexham too, that it had a stability model. And I said, and I acknowledged at the time, even before I said it, that yeah, they're dangerous. It's a dangerous, tricky comparison because the clubs aren't the same, the geography is different, and it's really true. Because Newcastle, Manchester United, particularly Newcastle and Sheffield Wednesday, those clubs, and I said this to the person at the time, those clubs are a religion in those areas of England. Sheffield Wednesday and Newcastle, especially Newcastle, that's the religion of the city. Whereas at Vicarage Road in the town of Watford, Watford isn't necessarily a religion to the average Watford supporter or the average person who lives in Watford or in parts around there, And as someone pointed out also earlier on, I forget who it was, um, geographically, there's so many different clubs around in and around Watford. And you've got London right next door. You've got a gazillion clubs there. You've got the Arsenals, you've got the Tottenhams, you've got the Chelseas, you got, Leighton Orient, you got a million clubs around, right? You've got gosh, all of them, like Charlton Athletic. Yeah, I mean, you can go on and on forever with the amount of clubs that exist in London proper. And I joked about with the person. I said Stevenage too. You can go. He said no, not necessarily Stevenage, but you've got all these clubs around, so it's different. But I think that's the point I really want to make before I completely ramble off the charts here, Peter, is we've seen this story so many times, and I totally agree with you. And I mentioned this before, as did others, that we have to start as fans now, really giving ourselves a real look in the mirror at to what extent we are complicit with this. Hard language to hear on a Sunday night in the UK or in Croatia, but to what extent are we complicit with this if we continue to go to these games at the Vic? Now, I agree with you. I think if you want to go to an away match, and I said this to even people who decide to continue going to the Vic, that is entirely up to you. Now, if I was in the UK right now, if I was in England specifically right now, and if I was still living there, I wouldn't be going to the games at the Vic. No chance. I wouldn't be buying it. I still am not going to be buying any new merchandise. That no chance. That's me. That's my personal choice as a Watford supporter, as a lifelong Watford supporter, as a member of the Watford faithful. That's my choice. I'm not saying that you have to do that. If you could, that would be great. But you're ultimately you, not you necessarily. I'm talking to you generally now. You have a choice to make, I think. You out there, the Watford supporter listening and watching, has a choice to make about all of this. A critical choice. Will you renew your season ticket? I'm not saying stop going now because you've paid up your season ticket. You're going to go to the games, okay? I'm not going to tell you don't go to the games this season because you paid up your season ticket. Those of you who have, right? If you're a season ticket holder watching and listening to this, you've paid up your ticket and you're good for the rest of the season. You're going to go watch the games. I'm not saying you shouldn't, but after the season is over, the question becomes, are you renewing your season ticket? Even if this lot get promoted, are you renewing it? Because they're, like you said, Peter, they're 4 points off the playoff spots with a game to play in hand. That's on Tuesday against Hull. Are you renewing your season ticket? That's the key. It's the ownership, as Peter just said. It's not the club, it's the ownership that has showed you its backside in a number of seasons. I've praised the ownership when they've done stuff right, but when they haven't, I've been very vocal about that too. This ownership has showed its backside to us for a number of years now. Not the whole 12, 13, 14 years, but it's shown its backside to the Watford faithful for, I'd say, at least the last 7 years. even with the promotion that we had since 2019. That year was a turning point. When Javi was here last, before that 2019 year, not promotion, 11th place in the Premier League, that FA Cup final that I went to and you went to, we all went to at Wembley. What happened after that was the turning point. And maybe there were things before that we saw that we ignored. But from 2019, post that FA Cup final on, with that one promotion, yes. But after that, things have really gone south around here. And again, you have to ask, and I'll throw this back to Peter now in a minute. Forgive the filibuster. You have to ask yourself, to what degree are you, as a Watford fan, complicit with this ownership now? If you continue to support the games financially like that. Now, financially, I mean going to the games. Now, you might watch them on iFollow. I can't fault you for that, because I'm watching them on iFollow when they're on, or I watch them through an app here in the US. But are you going to go to the away games? Maybe you will. I don't know how much of that gate goes back to Watford, the away gate, if anything. Maybe there's a bit of that gate, of that receipt money, that goes back to Watford, right? All of those things have to be factored in. If you are upset at what has happened, not just today, but the last God knows how many years, those are hard questions that I think the average Watford supporter will need to ask. Are they going to stay at the games? Are they going to go or not? That's a key. I'm not going to condemn anybody who makes the personal choice to go. I would love for people not to go. But the reality is, we are not all of the same mind. We're going to have different thoughts. But I'm never going to condemn somebody for making a choice to go. I'm not. Peter, forgive me. It's back to you, mate.
It's this relationship. We're all in this relationship together, right? Which is this moral. It is a moral. It's not a physical thing, but it's a moral thing that we're all together, right? So Watford FC, we decide. We made a decision whenever that was, to become a Watford supporter. I lived in Queen's Avenue, which is not too far from. You might know it. I don't know whether you know Queen's Avenue.
Go on, keep going. It rings a bell.
West Watford, West Watford. You go down.
I know where that is. Yeah.
Road, turn off to Hagden Lane, and then go down. Whippendale Road, cross over.
That's right. That's not far from Castleberry Park, then, is it?
Not far, no. We go straight down the hill, and you get to Boys Grammar, and then it's just behind there, Castleberry Park.
Yeah, I know where that is. Then because I'm from Pinner, Elton John's hometown. So Pinner's about 6.5, 7 miles away from Watford. That's where I'm from.
So you used to get the underground, right?
I did. I took the Metropolitan line all the time.
And then you'd walk up.
Yeah.
Where would you walk up? Straight up.
Straight
past,
up. It would,
and then up the hill, Hagden Lane.
Yeah, or I think you could do that, or what I always did is go through Castleberry Lane or Castleberry Road, I think it was, and then there's the boys' school. There's a boys' school when you go out of the Watford Metropolitan Station, make a right turn, and you walk past this all boys' school, and then you go down there, and then I forget what the cross street is, and then you go on to Castleberry, and then there's there's a Carpenter's Road or Carpenter's Way. There, up that way. I can't remember the exact order of the streets. And then there's a long walk up a bunch of houses on that side. And then you run straight up the T and walk straight into Vic. And you're walking up toward the Vic, perpendicular. And you see Vicarage Road coming in the distance, and you see the stadium. Anyway, I did an awful job of geographically representing that. But some people know what the hell I'm talking about. Maybe I'm the only one.
So West Watford, Queen's Avenue, and lived in Watford and 84 FA Cup final.
Yes.
From then on, addicted. So that's we're in this emotional relationship, right? And we're gonna continue with that. And whether we pay out a lot of money every week, or whether we pay out not much money at all every season, or just buy a flat, just buy a scarf or whatever, or even not pay anything, we're emotionally connected with our club. Now, owners, it's a business for them naturally, but they also obviously have to appreciate it's an emotional connection for for us as fans, and without us, it's nothing, right?
Right.
Completely. Without fans, it's nothing, wherever they are. And then when you bring a manager in, again, he comes into this whole mix because he's part of this relationship altogether. Managing the team, leading the team to get the results for the all those people with that relationship in the club. Now he's now left. Things have gone on. We're kept in the dark. We don't know exactly what's going on, and we're treated like shit.
Yeah.
As supporters, right? So again, I'm thinking, what if there was, let's say, one game, or not just one game, but games in the future where nobody, I'm sure already, I'm pretty sure just by looking at my TV screen at Watford games when we're playing at home, there seems to be less and less. More and more empty seats, right?
Yes, very true.
Rather than being filled out. Okay, during that period, maybe the 4 games that we were winning, it seemed quite full there, right? But in terms of last month, clearly could be due to results, I guess, less. And it's January, and it's difficult for people to pay out clearly in the month of January as well, and it's a gloomy month for everyone, right? But it just seems like that's going down and down anyway, right? So if there was a couple of matches where we all decided not to go, those who've paid for season ticket, who've got season tickets, it's a different story because they've already paid for it. But if they felt strongly enough to boycott that game, that they would. But again, those people that haven't bought a ticket, that haven't got a season ticket but have an opportunity to go to the game, I guess probably, I don't know, but I guess right now a lot of them are thinking, fuck that, why should I, why should we bother? Because this is a pattern that hasn't stopped since 2012, right?
That's right. 2012. Yeah, I think it's 2012. Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
it's a pattern, and it happens every time. Podcasts come out, and we all have our rants. I'm having my rant now. You are as well.
Right.
We're all unhappy. We'll feel pissed off, but then we'll turn back to Watford FC and not necessarily start paying out again. But emotionally, we're not going to walk away. We're not going to walk away from Watford like our manager has done. However, we're not the managers, right? So I'm not saying that's absolutely fine to do that, right? But we're not going to do that. We can't walk away from this. We can't kind of emotionally walk away from the club we love.
Very true. And
do you know what I mean?
I agree.
I say that in a way of we whether we pay out or not, we can stop paying out. We can stop investing into it. We can stop investing money into it. But it's really difficult to stop supporting a football club. I guess that's the question I'm asking. Is it possible to do that when things are so bad?
Well, I think it's possible to. The owner is the owner, as we know. Obviously, the family, they've owned it for a while now. And I do think that they actually, and this might be splitting hairs, I do think, Peter, there is a dichotomy of the idea that you can actually economically not support Watford FC via this owner, but still support the club. And I'll tell you why. And I think I alluded to it perhaps a little while ago, maybe before you spoke, or maybe a few minutes before you've given your response here. I think you can. I think that you can choose to not go to the home games, but go to the away ones. You can choose to not buy the merchandise, but buy a pass on iFollow and watch them on your laptop or on your TV. I think you can choose to go to events regarding the club where they are like the Watford Community Supporters Trust or something like that, with the Community Trust or whatever, and support those events. That's supporting the club without supporting the owner. And that's not necessarily financial either. You could attend those events. You could be part of those events. That's a way to support the club, and without economically contributing really in those ways. So it may be a fine split of hairs. It might actually be a really tricky line, a fine line, Peter. But I actually do think that there are a number of ways, and I didn't even mention any of this. So thanks for actually asking that question, because I should have said this a long time ago in this Sunday Speakout. is that there are ways, and I've just illustrated them, that we can continue to support the club without directly supporting the owner. And
Well,
I don't know if
just
people are invested in that or not, but they don't have to be if they don't want to be, of course.
yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Everyone's got their own choice and how far they want to go with that, if at all, right? And that's completely fine. But perhaps I'm just thinking out loud now. But perhaps there should be some kind of this official, not anti-Watford campaign, but this official campaign, which is for those supporters that feel like we're feeling right now, a proper campaign for them to kind of be a community to be part of, and that can only grow when these things continue to happen, because probably this will happen again, right? We'll be another month or 2 months, we'll be talking about the same thing from this next third manager, right?
Right.
So do you know what I mean? So
yes.
Having this kind of these ideas and just sort of these things that are happening, these maybe events that are happening together, just bringing the community together, and also as they grow, the message it shows to the owners is that, we're not just gonna continue with this as we've all done for 12 years, since 2012. Me personally, there's not a lot I can do. I don't really go to the games. I buy them. Actually, it's not even on iFollow. It's on some other crooked website thing that I've got on my TV, right? But the thing is, when I do go to the, again, I'm not feeling that positive about when I go back to Watford next to get a ticket and with my daughter and watch a Watford game and eat those dreadful pies, right? So perhaps there is a way to kind of officially sort of start something, a campaign that just brings people together who feel that, and sort of introduce ways where we can still emotionally be on the side of Watford FC, as we've always done and will continue to do so, and pass those down probably generation to generation as well, right?
Right.
But not in support of the owners, right?
Yeah.
That's the key thing, isn't it? That's the key thing.
It is. It is the key thing. And people are going to find their way around that question either by answering it or not answering it. And I do think that it only requires a percentage of the fan base to do this. It doesn't require everybody to do this, because we all know that everybody's not going to do the things that that you and I are talking about and others are talking about. We know that. I think the point is to get enough of a percentage of people to effectuate that kind of obviously non-violent, always peaceful kind of response to the shenanigans and the nonsense that we don't like and that we are not going to put up with. There's some things that this ownership have done that have been positive. I've said that many times, and I've been very vocal about that. But as you know, you, me, and a number of others have been very vocal when this ownership has not done the right thing, and that is as it should be and may be and must be. But again, everybody's not going to be on the same page. We accept that at the start. Yes, there's a fine line between supporting the club and whether or not or not going and all that kind of thing, but people have to decide for themselves what they're willing to put up with. I think the thinking out there for some probably, Peter, is, well, we've done this for 12, 13, 14 years, what's another season of putting up with this? And then there are other people, like some of the people who've come on here today, including yourself, who are saying, no, we've got to make a statement with our money, with our feet, walking away from it. We've got to make a statement here and build a consortium. And there are people actually who have tried, including a couple of people who come on here. One of whom came on, Pots Out movement. His name is, I think, Charlie, who has been, and you can listen back to this. I know it's a long live, but who actually mentioned earlier today that he had been getting supporters together, and there were other people who were trying to get together, and then all of a sudden things fell through in a period with some of the people. He didn't mention names, but things fell through, and he was on the verge of and he had an accord with people, and then some of these folks just kind of skedaddled, to use an American term, at the last minute on him. And and he's been able to at least start with some people who are supporters who actually joined in what he was trying to do and what he continues to do. He gave up his season tickets. You know, people like that are people who need to, that's the kind of example, not only someone like Charlie, because he certainly has said that he's not into this for ego. And I believe him, I believe the sincerity of what he's saying. And he's had a real good, I think he's really made some strong points here, and good and really points I agree with yesterday and today. Um, but the average person, frankly, is not going to do what a Charlie has done. Again, I know he would not want me to make it about him, because I'm not making it about him. I'm just saying most of us as human beings are creatures of habit. We're not going to necessarily met. Some of us are not going to do what others do, and I know I will do that. If I was a season ticket holder, I would not renew. But people are starting consortiums, and we have many different people, many different Watford supporters. We're all in this boat, but we have different ways to row the boat. Or, as I say, the HMS Watford FC is sinking. Some of us are jumping off. Some of us are still on it. And that's the bottom line here. Peter, any other words you want to say? I'm going to read out one thing before I give you some other opportunities to speak here. Peter Watts has come in on YouTube. Thank you, Peter. And I want to apologize to you all on YouTube who you now can see me. My battery went, and I kept warning and warning that it would. And then people still couldn't believe when it happened. And the laptop just went out. So I now have plugged in the battery, and we're all good. Peter Watts on YouTube, and thank you, Peter, for watching. This is the part 2 edition on YouTube. There is a part 1 to this as well, so you can go back and watch the very long part 1 of this Sunday Speakout. Peter Watts says the following. He writes the following: that official, and he puts that in inverted commas or in quotation marks, that official statement was insulting, writes Peter. Peter continues, just more fluff to quite a few haters. I guess he means quiet, Q-U-I-E-T. I think he means quiet a few haters, or silence a few haters. Gino needs to wake up, Peter continues, and realize his playing trader system is long dead in the water. Peter continues on. I have a new respect for Javi. Peter Watts. Peter, thank you very much for that comment, mate. I appreciate that. Well said. Peter, you echo exactly. I know there's 2 Peters now. I'm talking about Peter on YouTube at the minute. Peter, you echo everything that I said earlier about that statement. It was bloody insulting. You're absolutely right. And I talked about that a number of times on YouTube in the part 1 edition to what you're presently watching. There is a part 1 to this. Absolutely, Peter, 100% on YouTube. Peter Watts, you're 100%. That statement was disgusting. It was insulting. Don't mock Javi like that on the way out the door. And I said at the time, Peter, and you weren't watching at the time, perhaps, but I don't remember you in the chat. At least you might have been watching. I said about that statement today, Gino, take a look in the mirror at yourself for once. You can do all the at our place meetings you wish, mate. You can write all the programming notes you want. But we've had 14 or 15 or how many years of this now? It's hide the ball, 3-card Monty. It's an absolute joke. Every manager that goes, there's an excuse, and never any self-reflection, any real self-reflection from you. Never. Very rare. Very rare. There's been maybe 1 or 2 times that there's been any kind of self-reflection from this owner. But that today absolutely is a moment. Peter Watts on YouTube, 100% with you. Thank you for that comment. That is a moment to wake up. If there was a moment to wake up, it is absolutely someone with the character of Javi. He was transparent, Javi was all the way, whether you liked him or whether you didn't. And I didn't like some of the substitutions that happened the last few games, fine. But that's really trivial. The man has got good character, right? And I get it. Football and the business ain't about character. It's about the bottom line results and money and results and money and results. It's a very unsentimental business. We all know that as fans. We all know that. But we know that Javi has integrity, and he always will. There'll be some Watford supporters that won't like him, fine. But Javi has integrity in this place. And to go to Peter on X, and thank you again, Peter on YouTube, saying, I have a new respect for Javi. I do too. And going back to Peter on X here now. Thank you, Peter Watts on YouTube. Going back to Peter on X here. This relationship, and I'm going to say this again, and again, this goes back to, and again, I know this is not the done thing to say, because I do not want to ever trivialize, and I hope I'm not trivializing the situations that people face out here, many women face. But what we have with this ownership now, and what we've had for at least the last 7 years of the ownership, not all 15 or 14 years, but the last 7, I'll say the last 7, since 2019, post 2019, is we have an abusive relationship with the ownership. I know that's very probably not the done thing to say, because it may trivialize the serious domestic violence relationships out there, and I don't want to do that. But we have an abusive relationship with this owner now. I know I should really stop saying that, right? But we are still here with this relationship as Watford supporters, Football Club supporters, and Javi decided to break away from that abusive relationship. That's what he did today. He did the right thing. And Peter Watts is correct. I totally agree with the comments he made. Peter, 100% on YouTube. I have a newfound respect for Javi as well. I got to meet Javi in 2019, actually, at the awards dinner. They're not doing them anymore. You can bet. I don't think this ownership is going to do any of them dinners, certainly as long as Gino's there. I don't think he's doing it because I don't think he'll get a very healthy response. I mean, there'll be some people who will go. I might even go, for God's sake. I mean, how about that for supporting the club, Peter on X? How about that, right? I mean, would I be supporting the owner if I go to the Watford FC end of season dinner? I mean, I think I would be, right? I mean, would I be only supporting the club? I mean, I'm throwing this out not just to Peter, but I'm throwing this out to anybody watching and listening, actually. Would I be supporting the club if I went over there for the end of season awards dinner? I mean, I obviously would be supporting the club for sure, which is optimal. That's exactly what I want to do. It's what I've been doing for my life. But would I also be supporting the owner if I did that? The owner goes to these things. I've been there. I've been to these things. I've seen the owner there. The owner sits there too. We're all wearing our tuxes, right? I remember Troy Deeney was there. That Klebs was there. They're all there. The players, all of them, wearing their tux. Well, some of them weren't wearing tuxes, but I was wearing one. But most of us were wearing tuxes in there, right? Riddle me that. I'm not trying to be funny. Riddle me that, right? If any of us, not just me, if any of us goes to if there was a announcement for an end of season awards dinner tomorrow after this window shuts, and you decided to go to that event, maybe if they'd have you, if they'd have me, if they'd had Peter, if they'd have any of us over there now, right? But if we decide to go to that, do you think you'd be supporting the club alone, or would you be supporting the club and the owner? And you don't have to answer that all at once. You don't have to answer that now. You can give that some thought, right? Now or later on. Or maybe put a comment in X after this chat's over with, or put a comment in YouTube chat. Would you be supporting the owner and the club, or would you be supporting just the club? Or would you be supporting the owner at all if you went to if you could afford to go to an end of season's award, end of season dinner, if they have them again? Anyway, that's a question that nobody has to answer. You can give it some thought, or you can answer it now or not. But that's just something I'll put out there. Peter, over to you with some final comments if you want. Go on.
I'm not answering that. I have to answer that. What I've just done now, I've put my TV on. I'm on big TV, YouTube, and I can see you now. I can see your face.
Hey!
Now through the screen.
Great to see you, mate.
And lastly, very lastly, yeah, again, this relationship. Our owner, we hardly know anything about the chap, right? We know a lot of by his actions.
Yes.
Sacking 23. Well, I don't know if it's sacked 23, but getting rid of majority, right? And not really keeping us in the dark. We don't know anything about the chap. We only and so without this transparency, based on the results and the actions that he does, it's never good. So he really needs to, and we don't really hear from him only when he sacks someone. We don't really hear anything from him at all, right? So this kind of like transparent, relationship, this conversation we have between us and the club, and it's great that we've got this, the what is it, the
Watford supporters board. Yeah,
that's right, the board. That's all cool and that's good, and that can only help.
Yeah,
with the bond and start to move forward.
Definitely a step in the right direction. Yes, go on.
All good. Yeah. It's all good, but still on their side, not their side, on the owner's side, still there's certainly not enough from their side to help us kind of understand where things are going. As we are the ones that are, Watford as a whole, the supporters group, the fans putting in their money, investing into this club. But the last thing, I'm going to go right now as well, the last thing I will say is, and as I look at you right now, on your right hand side, over your shoulder, I see one of your beautiful shirts, and I know you've got loads. I've got shirts in my wardrobe, right? But I guess you have got quite a lot of stuff. Quite a lot of cool stuff. When are we going to see that? do a couple of videos or do a YouTube, one of these YouTube live things, just in your room by your wardrobe. We'll get them all out, get them on your bed, and let's go through them, because I would love to see. I really would love to see other. I mean, I've always said it. I think Watford FC anyway should be doing these kind of like fan segments where it's like 20 minutes or 15 minutes with different fans, and they go to their houses and then they go and look, you share and talk about all the memorabilia and all the stuff you've got from Watford over the years, whether it be ticket stubs or Watford shirts or Watford moments, photographs, just because we've all, Watford is a big part, certainly a big part of your life, not as much as mine, but it's always been there in the background, ups and downs throughout the years. So, seeing your collection of Watford's memorabilia, I would love to see it. And I'm sure many other Watford fans who are similarly have got a lot of Watford shirts would love to see other people who've got lots of Watford shirts. What do you say?
Well, I know you've asked about this on a number of occasions in the past, Peter, and I know I've said, well, that's a great idea, and I haven't really acted upon it. It's still a great idea, Peter, in 2026, and I'm not discounting it. It would be a fantastic thing to do. I'm not saying I will never do that. I'm not saying that at all. I am absolutely, I think that would be a great idea if the club actually felt, hey, Watford fans, make a video and do that. If they wanted to do that, they've got a lot more things, and the owner rather has a lot more things to think about, but a lot more things to maybe not care about. But I do have a gazillion of these shirts, mate, and I think maybe I will do that this year. Maybe I will finally do that. It's about time I did.
The shirts you've got, and what they mean to you when you got them, and the games maybe that you went to with them on your back as well.
That's a great point.
The little stories that connected to the memorabilia that we bought, right?
Absolutely. No, that's an excellent suggestion. I really will put that on board and actually activate myself to do something, because that's the key ultimately, to do something. And so I certainly will. I think by the end of the season, there's going to be something about that I will do. I'll figure it out.
And then ask other fans, what's their, what best shirt they've bought and why they bought it and what season it was, right?
Exactly.
So it sort of brings us all in as well.
It does. And also the other thing is that that's a way of supporting the club without supporting the ownership.
Absolutely.
That's a way that we could, because buying Watford at least let me put it this way. The Watford memorabilia that we've already accumulated, right? That's been done, and that's already done. I mean, whether you buy more or not, again, that's your personal choice. I'm not going to, but at least you're showing your love for the football club. As I said, that's another way to do it, in addition to what I said earlier about attending events, on behalf of the community. If you can be invited to those events, those kinds of things, you're showing up for the club itself and the things it does. You're supporting the club in those events and endeavors to the extent that you would go to them, right? But you're not supporting what the ownership is doing. And I really do think that you can actually uncouple those things. Now, a lot of times it's difficult. It's kind of like what I think about the badge. Over my shoulder as well, you can probably see the crest, the heart. It's all in yellow in this case, but the heart for Watford FC, the crest, the heart. supporting the badge. You know, that's the thing that we are all aware of. Supporting the badge doesn't mean that you're supporting the ownership. And I think that's important as well. We're all going to have differences of opinion as Watford supporters. We are members of the Watford faithful. We love this club. You know, we love. There's a lot of people at the club that I really respect. People like Anne Swanson and a number of other people I can point to. Right, but you know, there's people in that ownership and people in that front office who, you know, listen. I've praised them on a number of things that they've done. They've done an excellent job in a lot of places, but there's a lot of things that they've fallen way short on and have not done a good job at all. I mean, we have to just be frank about that. And as some people have said previously in this live edition of the Sunday Speakout here on Orns Watford FC, please subscribe here at Orns WFC on YouTube and on Instagram and on X. And of course, please don't forget as well to subscribe on Substack. That would be Orns WFC, the number one.substack.com. But the thing is that we can still point to people at the club we love, and we have different views. And there's the Watford supporters board. I think that's a good thing. Some people might look at that and go, "Oh, that's not good." There's always going to be people who are going to disagree with something. Fine, okay, you have a right to disagree. But if people are moving in a forward-thinking direction, I'm going to always support that. I may not be on the same page with every single thing that someone's doing, as might you not be on the same page. But the supporters board is a good start. Now, I mean, there's always going to be people pointing to things about politics, and I get that things happen. But if it's for the good of advancing the club forward and bringing transparency, I'm supporting that. I'm with that, mate. 110%. I think we really have to look at what the overarching common interest is amongst the fan base and what our interests are vis-a-vis the club, in spite of the owner. Whether you like the owner, whether you don't, whether you approve him or not. Has he done some good things? Absolutely. Am I going to sit here and say he's not? No, because if any Watford supporter is going to say he's been awful for all of the 13 or 14 or 15 years or whatever it is that he's been here, they'd be incorrect on that. I'm sorry. They'd be absolutely incorrect. He has done a number of positive things at the club, and I'm never going to stop acknowledging those. But the bottom line is right now, in my view, for the last nearly 7 years, there has been a rather, again, with all due respect to people who are really living this every day, a rather abusive relationship that has taken place between the ownership and the fan base and the managers that come in here. And the difference today is that Javi decided to walk away from that abusive relationship. He was brought back a second time. He agreed to the abusive relationship the second time. And as in a very, very serious way, it's very hard for the average person. And if you're talking about men and women particularly, it's really hard because it's usually the woman that finds herself in a situation where domestic violence has been a really big problem. And it's very hard because people say, why don't you walk away from it? I mean, if people are going to say, why shouldn't a woman walk away from an abusive relationship, right? Which is much more serious than what we're talking about here. Because there's lots of people go, oh, why didn't you walk away from it? Why did you stay? Well, there's lots of complex reasons why a woman stays, right? So then if you're going to say that about a woman involved or any woman or person involved that is the target of domestic violence and finds themselves, it's very hard for them to walk away. Why aren't you saying that about the Watford fan base? Why aren't you saying that about the Watford fan base? If you're going to say that to the average woman who is in a really horrible situation and can't leave because of a lot of key things like economic factors and all kinds of very complex things that make it very hard for her to walk away, why can't you turn around and point at yourself as a Watford fan? Terrible analogy, I know. I'm not trying to compare the two. I'm just trying to compare the mentalities, not the situations, the mentalities. The thinking that says, oh, well, she should leave. Why didn't she leave? Well, why don't we leave? Not comparing the two things. I'm talking about the attitudes. That's what I'm comparing, not the situation. Because obviously, the situation of domestic violence is much more serious and much more grave. And we need to do more to end that situation and to do a lot of things structurally in society and a lot of things with the average man that we need to be really focusing on, right? So why don't we point to ourselves and say, well, why are we still here? Why are we still in this relationship with the ownership and the club? Because the club is something that's separate to me. I know it's hard to separate those things. It's very hard to, because the owner's supposed to be part of the face of the club. But you know who really is the face of the club? You and me, the fan base. We're the face of the club, mate. Not the owner, not anybody else. It's the fan base. Why? Because we're here. Because we're here, whether there's a manager here or not, whether it's the same manager or a different one, whether it's the same owner or a different owner, we are here. We're the face of this football club, mate. We are. The history of the club is the face of the club as well. The traditions of the club, that's the face of the club. We, as a fan base and as a community, are the face of this football club. End of story, full stop. That's the reality. That is the reality here. And I'm not going to mention the situation with domestic violence again, although I've just uttered those words. I'm really looking at the mentality, right, that tells someone in a really serious situation to leave that relationship, but then the very same people don't turn around and say, well, why am I in this toxic relationship as a Watford Football Club fan? I'm not comparing the situations. I'm comparing the mentalities. Two very different things. And I invite anybody to try to struggle with that question. We love this club, and I'm not saying abandon the club. What I'm saying is think about your relationship to the club, but particularly to the ownership. And maybe you'd say, well, no, I don't have a relationship with them. But maybe we do. If we're buying the merchandise, I think we do. If we're going to the games, I think we do. It's not easy to uncouple these things. It's not easy to disaggregate yourself and untangle yourself. It really isn't. But that's the challenge, because there are people out here who are doing that or have done it. It's like trying to quit purchasing from a certain website. I'm not going to mention the name. I quit them finally. And you know who I'm talking about, which makes shopping for anything really easy. I finally quit them just last month. Finally. Wasn't easy. Unsubscribed to them, and then resubscribed, unsubscribed, resubscribed, unsubscribed, resubscribed. And finally I said, I'm done. I'm done. And I'm not going back. It's kind of like, how do you tell someone who has problems with alcohol for whatever reason to stop drinking? How do you tell them how do they do that? Again, I'm not trying to compare the situations. I'm trying to compare the mindset. How do you do that? How do you do that with a football club? Again, different situation, not nearly as serious. And maybe someone personal to you or maybe yourself has had struggles with alcohol. I don't know. It's not my blooming business, right? But I'm only saying this to say, if we're going to tackle this situation, which is far more trivial in comparison to the other things I've said about those other situations, how are we willing to look ourselves in the mirror as fans? Are we going to decide what the level of engagement is going to be with Watford Football Club? Because we may say we have no relationship with the owner, but I don't know that that's really true if we continue to spend money on merchandise and spend money on home games and renew our season tickets. Because again, if you have a season ticket now, I'm not saying quit this season and stop going to your season ticket's paid up for, right? You've paid up. So you've got to live that, fulfill that out for the remaining 7 or 8 games at the Vic, 6, 7 games at the Vic. So it'd be stupid of me, foolish of me, stupid of me to go, oh, don't go. You're a season ticket holder, you're going to go, okay? And I'm not condemning anyone who makes the choice to go even next season. But we've been here before with this kind of conversation. People are going to go, people are not. I'm not criticizing one way or another. Would I love people to stay away? I would. But that's not happening. Peter, you get the last word on this because I'm going to finally wrap this up. Go on, Peter.
Well, no, I listen. I think you're right. I think it's time for us to do something. Again, what that something is really the question. Not a lot I can do from where I am in Croatia, watching games through the TV. I'll continue to watch them through the TV because I have to pay. Because, like I say, it's a dodgy website for watching Watford games. But going back to the Vic, probably won't. Certainly not this season. Maybe an away game. I'll still love Watford. Still want to support Watford. But again, 24 managers since 2012. We say this. I say this every time. You say this every time. We all do. We're all in the same boat. But things aren't moving in the right direction. We take one step forward and then we take 2 steps back, right? And that seems to be like the continual thing where we are. Where are we again? Championship. We're stuck. It feels like we're stuck here in the Championship right now. It's been 3 seasons already. It's going to be a 4th, right? So should we be in the Premiership? Well, listen. I mean, again, those who say we're punching above our weight. At the end of the day, look, it's Crystal Palace. Were they punching above their weight when they went up? Wolves, when they went up, were they punching above their weight? Brighton, were they punching above their weight? Brighton, right? Brighton have been like, you remember Brighton and Hove Albion.
Yes.
They didn't even deserve because of where they were in the league. They didn't even deserve a full page team photo poster in the middle of Match magazine or Shoot magazine because they were a smaller club. They just had like a half a page poster of the team, right?
Oh man!
And even in sticker albums, the Brighton and Hove Albion, I don't even know there was I don't even know they were there, right?
Brighton. Oh boy.
Do you remember? But
I do.
Clearly, they move up and they stay. They managed to stay there. And they did well, and they went in the right direction. And whatever they've done, listen, behind the scenes, in terms of, I've heard lots of, not rumours, but I heard a lot of things about how their scouting process, the technical side of how they really, analyse games as well, and analysing potential hires as well, potential players coming into the club. Whatever they're doing it well, man, because they've been there for years, and they don't look like they're going down at all, right?
No.
But us, we go down, and we're stuck here, and so that's frustrating. I know a lot of people don't even want to go up to the Premier League. I'm contrary to that because I would like to see Watford go up. I want to see Watford do as well as they can. Why we can, and what tomorrow brings in terms of if that means we go straight back down, we go straight back down. But let's enjoy that Premier League season that we're in, right?
Right.
So yeah, so it's tough. I've got a really sneaky feeling we're gonna be in the same situation in the summer. Again, I can imagine we're gonna get somebody in. He won't stay long. He'll stay to the end of the season. Get his money. We'll be 10th, about 10th in the league table, something like that. And then summer, a new manager will come in, pre-season with him, and then September, October, probably October, mid-October, new manager. So we're going to be doing this again. And will this happen again? It probably will happen again. Can we stop it? Probably not. How can we stop this? We're not the owners. We don't pull the trigger.
That's right. We're not the owners.
He'll probably pull the trigger again. So, a leopard doesn't change his spots. His spots will never be changed.
Right.
And he'll just continue to that'll just continue. And us as fans, emotionally, as I say, we're connected as Watford fans. We're never going to stop supporting the badge. You're absolutely right with the badge, but it doesn't get easier for us. It doesn't make us feel like fans, right? I feel like gutted.
Yeah, that's my overarching feeling as well. Sadness, disappointment, sadness, but predictability and inevitability. It is because we are again, I think I'm not going to keep using the analogy that I was using earlier because I can see how that would be really offensive, and I don't want to even go down that road again. But I think that we get easily seduced, and there are fans that say, "Look, I don't think we're ready for the Premier League," and I would agree with that. We're not, but heck, if we went up there, we want to see these lot improve and do well there, and I think that we can get very easily seduced as a fan base, or any football fan base can, because for as much as we've spent time talking here, Peter, and just this chat in general and this Sunday speak out, um, I would say to you that if this team were to get promotion somehow this season, a great many of us in here will be right back there, and a great many of us next season will go to the games. Premier League club. I mean, you might be laughing at that now, whoever is listening and watching at this moment. But if this team were ever to get promotion this season, you know that there'll be at least 50% of us who will go right back, who will absolutely renew the season ticket. I'm not indicting those who do. I am just casting what is the brutal, cold, hard reality of the average person and the average football fan, and in this case, the average Watford fan, the Watford faithful. We're going to come running back. It's kind of like the song from Aerosmith. Um, that song "Living on the Edge." I'll bring it to a bit more contemporary. Um, you know, even if the sky wasn't falling, I think I'm not doing this exactly on the exact lyric. Even if it wasn't, and you thought the sky was falling, um, even if it wasn't, I think, would you still come crawling back again? I bet you would, my friend, again and again and again and again. That is almost the lyric for that song by Aerosmith, "Living on the Edge." And that is exactly true. Even if you know that the sky is falling, even if Chicken Little told you the sky was falling, even if it wasn't, would you still come crawling back again? I bet you would, my friend, again and again. And that is really the hardwired reality of us as human beings, right? I think we just have to be honest with ourselves. And sometimes being honest makes people uncomfortable. I know it does. Change makes people uncomfortable. I know it does, right? And I think being able to do that kind of excavation of yourself, and I don't want to sound too much like an armchair psychologist, but doing that kind of introspection and that inner excavation of yourself about your mindset about Watford, it does require you, I think, and the average fan, to ask yourself some pretty blooming uncomfortable questions. I mean, it does. And that is not something that everybody is going to want to do. And that in and of itself might be an uncomfortable disclosure right now. That some of us are going to do that kind of work, and we're going to challenge ourselves and really ask ourselves, do we want to continue down identifying with the ownership, not the manager, not the club? We love the club. We always. I'm not saying that. I'm talking about the ownership, which is actually part of the club, if you will. That's why it's so hard for many people to disentangle. But I mean, there are people who I agree with, and I've also advocated this as you have, Peter, as well, is to not go to these games. For some people, that's easier said than done. For others, it's not. For others, they can do that. For some people, they can't do that. For some people, going to that game is the only thing going on in their life. I'm not saying this about anyone here because I don't know what your personal situation is. None of my business what your personal situation is. But I'm saying that for some supporters of this club, that Saturday afternoon at 3 p.m. at the Vic, that is what their whole life revolves around. And I'm a very busy person. I'm a very busy man. Even though I get time to do some of this stuff, I don't even do as much of this as I used to do on YouTube. Because I'm in, you're working, you got this, and I've got so much stuff I'm way behind on today alone. But this thing I wanted to do and keep talking about because it's really important, I think, where we are as fans. But for some people, and I'm talking generally to everybody now watching and listening, 3 p.m. on Saturday is the one highlight of the week for them. And not just our fan base, any fan base. And if you've got places like Newcastle, places like Sheffield Wednesday, places like Leeds. And that might be the one citadel. That might be their religion for the week. That's like going to church for people who do go to church, right? I'm a Christian. I don't go to church, but I am a Christian. But for people who go to church, that's their church every Saturday. Going up to St. James's Park, going up to Elland Road, going over to Hillsborough, that's their church. For Watford supporters, I'm not so sure. I'm not making fun of us, right? And I don't agree with those people online who say, as I saw on one X comment yesterday, oh, the problem is the fan base is toxic. No, it ain't the fan base being toxic. Social media is toxic. It ain't the fan base that's toxic. There might be some people on the from the fan base who go on social media and show you how toxic they are, but the fan base at large is not toxic. Most of the fan base doesn't live on social media. In fact, social media represents a really, really small, teeny tiny percentage of the Watford fan base. Got to remember that, folks. People who make that kind of comment. I didn't even respond to that yesterday when I saw that come across X. I saw that. It's not, and a lot of people liked that agreed with that comment and liked it. I'm like, really? The fan base is not toxic, mate. The fan base ain't the problem. It's the blooming owner, okay? And listen, Gino has every right to do what he's done positively with his club, and I support the positive things Gino's done. But this stuff he's done here with the other stuff, it's. I mean, we've got to do the autopsies. Some people are doing that. Some people have come on today. They've done the autopsies. They've responded. They've done that, and they're continuing to do it. The rest of us, what are we doing? And if you're not doing anything, fine. I'm not going to criticize that. Then you choose to continue on. Right? I'm going to continue watching the games. I will. Will I go on iFollow next season and pay, what is it, $10 in US money or whatever it's going to be? Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do it. But I'm not going to the matches. If I go to the UK, I'm not going and watching any matches at the Vic. Not everybody's going to do that. That doesn't make me better or worse than anybody else. It doesn't make you better or worse. It doesn't make the people who give up their season tickets better people, because they just showing you that they've got a little bit more integrity and principle. It's not, you might be you out there watching and listening as a Watford supporter might be a very principled and a person with principle and integrity. Let me say it that way. You might be very much principled about things in life, but when it comes to Watford Football Club and this situation with the ownership, you might decide, what the heck with it. I've done this for 13 years now. I may as well continue. And you have a right to do that, mate. But some of us are not going to go down that road. Some of us are not going to do that. And the seduction is very tempting. You can get seduced. If they by some miracle, if they do get promoted, because I've stuck with playoffs all season long. I said it at the beginning of the season when the 14 trades, the 14 came in, the new 14 came in here. The question, I said playoffs, and I said I wasn't going to go any further than that. The question becomes, if they go and get promoted, are you coming back next season? That you don't have to answer that. Answer that for yourself. You don't have to tell me or any other Watford supporter. If your answer is yes, then that's understandable. If your answer is no, then again, your integrity really speaks for you. And as someone said here earlier, you can come on and we can vent, as we all do. I'm doing the same. But at the end of the day, if they get promoted, and I'm saying this now, at the end of the day, if this lot make promotion and they're automatic, or they get up through the playoffs, if they get there, are we going to come right back next season? That's a question each and every Watford supporter has to answer. Peter, last words, and then I'm really going to say goodbye now, because it is real late out there in the UK.
Listen, thanks for listening. Lovely to chat with you. Good to hear how you're feeling about everything about Watford FC and the events of what's happened today. And listen, keep going with it. I listen to you quite often on your podcast, and continue with that. Again, it helps me, and I guess a lot of other people as well who are maybe, again, that don't go to the Vic too often, that don't even live in the UK. Someone like yourself, and it keeps me part of this community, which it's part of my life. It is part of my life, and it won't go away. being a Watford FC supporter and I'm more connected with Watford today than I guess I've ever been. Even more so today than even when I lived in Watford, because I get to hear comments, I get to share my views and my ideas as well on how things can unfold as well. So keep doing what you're doing, and I'm looking forward to seeing your collection of Watford shirts, training tops, tickets, I guess, programs. You've got programs? You've got loads of programs?
I do too. I do have a number of them too, yeah.
do a session on it, and I'll be the first to watch.
Peter, thanks again for your kind words. I really appreciate all of what you said today. Great conversation here. Peter, thank you very much, and get some sleep over there. I know it's getting late there, but thanks, Peter, for your time. Really appreciate it. Take care, mate.
Take it easy, buddy.
Cheers. That was really great stuff. Really enjoyed talking with Pete there, Peter there in Croatia. Thank you very much, and thank you to everybody who has had a say here today, and thank you for those of you who are watching, who have been watching. It's been greatly appreciated here on YouTube. I apologize to you on YouTube for that 10 minutes of absolute darkness in terms of the screen going out. I told you that the battery was going to run out, and I just didn't want to get up and change it, so that's my fault. I did finally get up and change it, and now here we are. For all of you on YouTube who have commented, thank you so very much indeed for doing that throughout the course of the last 3 or 4 hours, 5 hours now, almost. Jesus, Lord have mercy. Thank you for that. Thank you for those of you listening patiently on X and who've given your comments. And I think read out just about all the X comments. Someone, I think Balsamic Lemon says Pollock is the obvious choice for captain, right? He wrote that, or she wrote that an hour ago. And Balsamic Lemon also wrote about an hour ago, I feel like Liam Rosenior has just a new manager bounce. I think the performances at Chelsea will drop soon. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. We'll see. Let's check in on that, by the way. Not that we're Chelsea fans here, because I'm not. I'm a Watford supporter through and through. But yeah, as a football fan, let's go and check, overall fan of the game of football. Let's go and see. Check in about 5 or 10 games on Liam Rosenior, and let's see if indeed that is just a new manager bounce. He has got off to a good start with them. I know Chelsea a bit more fancy-dancy, but I do think Liam Rosenior has definitely introduced himself very well when a lot of the fan base at Chelsea were very skeptical about him. But he has shown so far over 7 or 8, 9 games, whatever it is now, to be pretty blooming good. And he's had a track record elsewhere. He's managed in a number of leagues, and he certainly put his mark on this team in the early doors. He's done a blooming good job. Let's see in about 5 more games or 10 more games, Balsamic Lemon, if Liam Rosenior does continue to thrive there. But that's Chelsea stuff. I'm not really too concerned about Chelsea at all. Chelsea again have the problem that Watford have. We have an ownership now that seems very indifferent to a lot of different things at the minute. The American owners that are coming at Chelsea have really turned things on its head, and not in a good way. And we've seen the effects of that there, switching out managers the same way that we're seeing with our club that we love so very much. So we'll see about all that stuff. But I do want to say thank you again. Again, please subscribe on YouTube at Orns WFC on YouTube. Please follow on X and on Insta at Orns WFC on both of those. And of course, I'll be doing something tomorrow, or putting up a number of things up tomorrow on the Substack channel for YouTube, on Orns. Substack. God, it's been a long, long day. It's Orns. Please subscribe to the Substack. It's Orns WFC, the number 1.substack.com. And again, what a day it's been. And we're going to be in for another wild 48 hours beyond today, because of course we have the wild 72 or 96 hours. Yesterday we had that really poor second half against Swansea. We just rolled over in that second half for them, and we lost that match. Obviously, we had the early afternoon, late morning, or early morning here in California, San Francisco, the news of Javi walking out and saying goodbye. That's number 2. Number 3, we've got the transfer market window shutting tomorrow at 11 p.m. UK time. And then number 4, right, we've got Hull City against Watford on Tuesday. So these next 24 hours, 48 hours are going to be absolutely wild, with, of course, the temporary charge of Messrs. Mariappa, Gosling, and Daniels. That's what we have now. Javi walked away, and that's it. He is not coming back here. I know that the door's been left open. I guess with the comments at the end of that very, I think, insulting statement in some ways, but Javi's not coming back here a third time. I don't think all the money on the planet would get Javi back here again. And we'll see who the manager's going to be. It's anybody's guess ultimately as to who it's going to be. Um, who knows? But we know that on Tuesday night, we're going to be seeing the likes of Messrs. Mariappa, right? Mariappa, Daniels, and Gosling. They are taking charge as the temporary caretaker team of managerials who are taking charge to look at this game against Hull. And God knows what happens from there. God knows. We will see, fellow Watford supporters. And Balsamic Lemon, who's just come back in, I read out some of the comments that you made. You weren't in the room at the time. I know you made the comments over an hour ago, but I read out what you had to say and I responded to it. We'll see about Liam Rossinia, I mentioned, and we will also see about Matty Pollock being a captain. I think he'd be a better, and I think he's been captain once or twice this season, maybe once last season. He'll make a better captain than Imran Loser will. I would back Pollock for captain. I would back Tom Ince for captain. I'd back Ngakia for captain. And Ngakia had the armband on one of these games a few games ago. I'd back any one of them three. Loser for me, very good technical player, but he's not a leader in my view. But look, all of that about what's going on the pitch is fairly trivial today, isn't it? We'll see what happens, everybody. It's great to talk to the Watford faithful, each and every one of you. Thank you so very much for your time over these long hours. Now it's getting time for me to actually get my day started. I have had my day started, but it takes a toll. I want to just say, take care again. I want to start the way I finished. I want to finish the way I started this hours ago. Please take care of your mental health. I know it can be very challenging. Lots of people in the world have some really deep mental health challenges that require a lot of help. And obviously, that's a very tricky and very difficult thing in this day and age. But if you know places like the Samaritans in the UK, please get some help to talk to someone, right? Maybe things are really difficult for you, wherever you are listening or watching this. But remember that there is help for you out there. And for those of you who may not be in that particular difficult situation, just your mental health overall, take care of it, right? Reduce the time you can on social media. Please don't spend all day doom scrolling. I know you can get on these chats and forums and even here. Look and listen to me. I spend hours on here, and I don't normally spend this much time on here. That's enough for me for 1 week. I mean, seriously, I really don't do this kind of thing for that long, but today was just one of them kind of days, right? So I'm going to take my own advice, as I usually do take my own advice on these things. Stay away from excessive screens. Give yourself some rest. Go outside if you can physically move and you're able to move out, get outside and get some fresh air. Please do. Walk in nature. Walk in greenery if you're fortunate enough to be near any. Get some fresh air. Take a walk, please, if you can, if you're physically able to do so, right? And just remember that life moves on, even if Javi has moved on like he has, and even if you're disgusted at what's going on, remember that your life is you're still here, you're living, right? And there's more things out there for you. And I know Watford may be the only thing out there for some people, but there's a whole world around you. Get out there and really, if you can, right? Don't be isolated. And social media can be very isolating. And there's been lots of studies done on all of this stuff with challenges men and boys face. Get out into the world, right? And take care of your mental health. Get some sleep. Drink water a lot. Hydrate yourself. Reduce your alcohol intake. I know I sound like a whatever, at the moment, but really, this stuff helps. I've stopped drinking. I mean, listen, that's not going to work for everybody. For me, I've stopped drinking alcohol. And I like that. I mean, I was never someone who had issues with alcohol or problems with it at all. But I went the whole year last year without drinking. and I'm going to continue to do that. I don't feel the need for it. I can have a good time without drinking, and I have had a good time without drinking. But all I'm saying is take care of your mental and physical health, right? Because this football club will also challenge your mental health too. I mean, it will, right? I want you to take care of yourselves. Thank you very much for joining. Be well. Please subscribe to all the forums I've talked about and spread the word about the Orns uh, YouTube channel and Orns WFC, of course, everywhere else. Um, I really want to thank you very much, you know, and it's really great, you know. Ryan talks about the WD18 Watford FC channel has 200 people commenting in their live chat. No, that's great. That's good. Listen, like I say, whoever you are out there doing a chat, a live, good for you. Again, for me, I do this. I'm not trying to compete with anybody. I compete with me, and I do what I can do, and I do this not for numbers. I mean, obviously, it's great to have more numbers. Of course, it is. Of course, the more the merrier. But I do this because I have a definitive point of view, and I like interacting with fellow Watford supporters that I otherwise would not have a chance to interact with. And I take that opportunity to do that and to hear back from fellow Watford supporters and to interact with them. That's really important to me. I think it's important to get connected to people in the fan base in that way, doing this. Right? But that's great. If that's what they're doing, fantastic. I wish them all the best. Anybody doing this, and you can do this too. You can get on and do this too, right? So that's great that they've got 200 people watching, 205. Fantastic. I'm happy for them. I'm happy for any of these channels that have loads of people watching them. But I really don't honestly pay attention to any of that because for me, I'm not. I don't do stuff. And then there are people out there who do look at this stuff and promote this competition. Listen, I've been around the block, mate. I don't have time for that. I have a very, very busy life, you know. I really do. I've got to get to that busy life right now. But the point is that I think the more people that do forums like this, the merrier. I am one who encourages much more participation than less. I am one that encourages people to do a forum like this. If you've got time and you've got a point of view and you know how to connect and interact with people, do one yourself as well. I very much encourage that. So, I'm happy for any of these uh, Watford platforms and perform and whatever. It's good because I think the more voices, the merrier. I'm definitely for more voices, not less. There are people out there. There are some people out there who are for less voices, who are for shrinking things, and who are for making only a certain group of people come in. I'm not. I'm the opposite. I'm for anybody who of a Watford persuasion wants to come in and talk and have their say. Come on down. You're welcome. The water is warm. You know, but that's the way I look at it. So thank you, everybody. Please take care of your mental health. Please go get a checkup. I'm not joking, especially if you're a male. Get a checkup, please. Do a physical, you know, and try to stay balanced on these in this land, in this world, right? Crazy things going on this planet, right? But get yourself a good night's sleep. It's now 8 o'clock gone in the UK and beyond. Get yourself a good night's sleep, all right? And be good to yourself, all right? And have a laugh and have a smile once in a while because that's a really important thing. Laugh a lot, laugh and smile a bit, and have a laugh a lot, have some fun, right? Get out there, get into the world, right? Connect with family, meet with people, go out, whatever, right? But you have a life and just keep moving with it, all right? Thank you very much for everything, for your continued support. We'll do this again sometime. Not as long as this, though, but we will do this again sometime. Again, apologies to those of you on YouTube. You're watching part 2 at present. We're concluding now this Uon's Watford FC Sunday Speakout. Javi says adios to Sangria and Watford FC. We had a great long talk today. Thank you to all who listened and participated and commented. That is it for now from me here in San Francisco, California. Yours truly, Omar, here speaking. And until, I guess, Tuesday on X, where we do the post-match, until then, it's Take care and enjoy the remainder of your Sunday.